In the name of the Holy and Blessed Trinity, revealed to us as the Creator, the Redeemer, and the Sanctifier of the world. Amen. Please be seated. The writer of the letter to the Ephesians, towards the end of the reading we heard this morning, says, "You are what you have created us. We are what you have created us to be." When I read that, I was instantly transported back to 1985 when I was studying for the HSC. I know, you all thought I only did the HSC a few years ago. Good, I'm glad you laughed. Because in my head, I only did the HSC a few years ago. But this will really date it. So in 1985, in order to prep for the exams, I made the commitment that year not to listen to any music, not to listen to the radio when I was in my room, but I recorded all the quotes, all the equations, everything I thought I would need to learn by heart for the exams onto cassettes. Remember those cassettes? And every time I went into my room, I would press play on the tape recorder and the quotes would roll out. Should you need to know what the set texts were for W.B. Yeats in 1985, I'm your girl. That year we studied Dickens' Great Expectations. And in Great Expectations, and apologies if you haven't read the book or seen the movie or the wonderful adaptations, in Great Expectations, it's the story of a young man whose background, whose inheritance is an ongoing mystery, and his relationship, acquaintanceship, with an elderly woman, Miss Havisham, and her ward, Estella. Estella has been raised by Miss Havisham to be poised and elegant, the epitome of being a lady. She is well educated. She has a sharp tongue. She is fierce. And as the novel unfolds, we of course learn that Miss Havisham has raised Estella to be a weapon of sorts, to take revenge for Miss Havisham on the griefs and sorrows of Miss Havisham's past. At one point, towards the end of the novel, Estella turns on Miss Havisham with the accusation, "I am what you have made me." Because in that moment, Miss Havisham wants love, wants empathy, wants care from Estella, but Estella has been raised deliberately to not give love or care or empathy. She has been raised to be cold. And Estella says to her creator in that moment, "I am what you have made me. I can't give you what you want because you haven't made me for that. You have made me for other." The writer of the letter to the Ephesians recognises the absolute critical importance of understanding what we are made for. And for the writer of the letter to the Ephesians, They understand that we are made in God's image. We understand that from our readings in Genesis. And made in God's image and loved and forgiven and redeemed, we bear that image, the image of the crucified Christ. Love poured out for the world, love for the world. The writer of the letter to the Ephesians reminds the Ephesians that you have been created to serve a great purpose, and that purpose is one of love. It's the conversation that Jesus has with Nicodemus. Nicodemus, in essence, is coming to ask, what's the meaning of all of this? You have great wisdom. How does this make sense? And Jesus reminds Nicodemus that those of faith, that we have been created to be people of light. But there are times when we choose darkness. But we have been created to be people of light, seeking after the light and being people who bring that light into dark places. That's what we're made for. That's what we're created to be, people of light. So what does that mean for us in our Lenten journey? What does that mean for us as we live in a world which at times, as it always has, can seem incredibly dark? We have heard this week where we have celebrated International Women's Day, of yet again horrendous crimes committed against women. What does it mean for us to be a people who are committed to the 10 commitments the Anglican Church has adopted about family and domestic violence? What does it mean for us to be people who seek to be allies? At the rear of the cathedral, we have a poster displaying those 10 commitments. We have cards which are ideally sized to slip into someone's hand or handbag, which talks about ways in which they can reach for help. Perhaps today our action of shining light is to know where those resources are, or to take one in case we might need it, in case the opportunity arises where we can share that light in a dark place. What does it mean for us to be people of light? To shine light in places of injustice, to shine light in places where voices are suppressed. We've been talking about hope this Lent. Hope is light in the darkness. What does it mean for us to be people who proclaim, who live, who embody hope in a world which cries out for it? This is what we are made for. This is the image we bear. And our words and actions are the outworking of who we are and what we are made for. Time and again we see, often writ large in headlines, what happens when people's words and actions do not align with who they are, or when their words and actions on a public scale are entirely different to who they are behind closed doors. As Christians, we are called to not have those two sides, but rather to live in that integrity, the integrity of the cross, of who we are made for, of what we are made for, and to live that integratedly in our lives and through all our words and actions. We can't proclaim love for neighbour and at the same time mistreat someone who works in a service industry or a carer. We can't proclaim love for God and at the same time chase after idols which do not satisfy. God has made us to be people of light and people of hope. Let us be that light and hope for the world which craves it. Amen.